A, B, C, and D. Boogie Woogie. First of all, what's the relation, the real essence of the relation between Boogie Woogie and rock and roll? And is this all influenced by, we like to think, the early experience of Charlie with Alexis Corner and stuff in the early 60s?
Yeah.
That's, and?
Well, Boogie Woogie is the basis of rock and roll. It's from the 30s, you know. And most rock and roll piano players play a form of Boogie Woogie. And they're the newer ones. The older ones are sort of, Big Joe Turner, Louis Jordan, it's all the rolling left hand, the hard bit to do.
How did the...
And if you really want to know about it, the man on the end will tell you.
He knows everything.
The ambassador, of course.
Absolutely.
So tell us about it.
About what?
About, first of all, how did the band get together?
Charlie, Dave and myself met in 1986 to participate in a TV documentary about Boogie. And I think, Ben, you saw that on TV when you were a little child or something.
Yeah.
And it made you want to play Boogie Woogie piano. And then you had the idea to get this together.
Yeah, well, Axel and I met up in Vienna. I was opening up for Jerry Lee Lewis, and we said we'd do some gigs in England together. And it was a really cold sort of November night, and I was bored at home. And I thought, I wonder if Charlie Watts would like to do them. So I just wrote to him and said we're doing these gigs, and would he do them? And he phoned back and said, as long as Dave Green's doing them, he said he won't do it with anybody else because he's the best bass player for timekeeping and for Boogie Woogie in the world. And he said he'd do them if that was the case. So we did our first gig back 2.5 years ago, didn't we?
Mm-hmm. The first of almost 60.
How many?
Almost 60.
Yeah.
Wow.
And are you two childhood friends?
Yes,
Is that correct?
we were neighbours.
How did you get to know each other?
Together. We grew up together. We were neighbours.
Same neighborhood?
No, next door.
Next door.
Next door?
Next door to each other, yeah.
What neighborhood is that?
In Wembley Park, a suburb of London.
Very exclusive.
Yeah, very exclusive part of London. Near the stadium where they have the football.
Lots of quality.
And we were 5. We grew up. We were 5 years old, and we've known each other since the age of 5.
How are the audiences responding to your proposal in music, given that Boogie Woogie is not like the most fashionable style? But
Well, the thing is with Boogie Woogie, nobody's really heard it anymore. It sort of peaked in the late 30s to the 40s, and apart from Lionel Hampton and a couple of people that continued playing it as a form, people have never heard it. And people have never heard, unless they've got the records, and a lot of kids won't have, but they've never heard two boogie. There's no band that are like this, which is two piano players,
Two pianos together, yeah.
a jazz bass player,
Yeah.
and a little bloke in the middle.
of course.
It's a unique band.
Covers a
in
whole
this
range.
day and age.
Yeah.
In the late 30s, in nightclubs, there were a few of them. There weren't that many. There'd never been that many Boogie Woogie piano players. It's a very hard form of music to play.
See, all that is based on blues, Boogie
Yeah.
Woogie, and that's a common structure to it, and it's a perfect playground in a way to communicate with each other. So we're doing a lot of spontaneous music, which if we don't record it, we would we would never hear it another time. So that's really the fun of it, So everybody is listening to each other.
And every night is different.
Every night is different.
Yeah.
And,
You improvise?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
And with two pianos, for example, it's like two orchestras. In a way, the most orchestral instrument. So you have to be very apt in listening and answering whatsoever, really communicating, to have the two pianos work together, and then with bass and drums to the whole thing growing together and make something which is like a lively conversation, a story to be told to the audience and grab them by that.
How long is this tour?
2 weeks. All of TUI.
TUI's, yeah.
Only Europe?
Well, only Italy,
This thing, yeah.
Paris, and Stuttgart.
Stuttgart, yeah.
But that's how we hit them hard and leave.
Charlie, you've been quoted saying that you hate touring.
It's a
Is
lot.
that
It's a lot. Well, I do. I hate long tours and I hate packing, i.e.
What are you looking at me?
No, unpacking and packing.
What time we going in the
suitcases
morning?
at night. Yeah, exactly. But what do you do? How are you going to play in Chicago without touring? You know.
Yeah, yeah.
So you have to do it. But no, it drives me out the wall. Really, moving.
And do you still sketch hotel rooms?
With the Rolling Stones. Yeah,
only
the
with the-
last tour has got the last bed, wherever that was. Actually, that was my own one at home. Yeah.
Oh,
what,
right.
What do you do with those sketches? You put them
Nothing. They
together?
go in the archives. Well, they're not even allowed in the archives yet. They're probably going mouldy in the bottom of this beautiful bookcase I've got.
Do you do it to relax and before gigs?
It started out, yes. Well, it started out because I couldn't sleep.
Oh, right.
And then I used to do the rooms, and when I was really going, I'd spend hours drawing the corridor and everywhere,
Wow.
anything, and then it became a thing to do.
Yeah. It's good,
So I couldn't miss one.
but it's a
Yeah,
form to
And when,
get
I,
to, like,
when,
you
I,
have to
when
do
I
it.
have missed them, I've had to get a little bit of paper from the,
From the hotel.
Yeah, with the head thing on. And I've got a couple of those stuck in.
Yeah,
but,
yeah.
It's every single bed I've slept in since 66 or 7.
Since the Stones, wow.